нашої дружньої країни. Загинули люди. Прийміть, будь ласка, співчуття від усіх українських братів. Скільки разів Україна говорила про те, що нашою країною держава-терорист не обмежиться. Бити ракетами по території НАТО. Це російський ракетний удар по колективній безпеці. Це дуже суттєва ескалація. Треба діяти. Я хочу зараз сказати усім нашим польським братам.
See this guy here? This is the face of terrorism. This is the terrorist, the Donbass terrorist. This man is responsible for all the terrorist attacks that you've been seeing, the bizarre terrorist attacks. And as if you don't know by now, he's right here. He was calling for basically for NATO to trigger Article 4 and everybody join the fight. So over this Russian missile strike on Poland, he's saying, yeah, I told you it happened. That Russia's a terrorist state. Of course, this is going to, this is going to spread outside of, out of Russia. I've told you this. And see, look. And he's right about that much, because Zelensky's terror is now in Poland and the Baltic states. There's a reason why those states all voted to sanction Russia and ban Russian citizens. Poland is more racist than Ukraine, and they're the number one most homophobic country in Europe. They just had a neo-Nazi march on Independence Day on the 11th. So let me tell you about this guy. This is actually a formula, and even Joe Biden.
Biden reacted to those remarks, saying that's not the evidence. Ukrainian officials have been demanding access to the site. The president's office hears.
Okay, so you see that? So the Ukrainians are demanding access to the site. They want to go inspect the site. But before they've even seen it, they're already yelling at the top of their lungs, Putin did it. The same thing that, with no evidence, with no investigation, and there's no motive either, right? So what's the motive of Putin just lobbing a missile over into Poland? Just to cause terror. This is what we're supposed to believe. And people are actually dumb enough to believe it. A lot of people are. But unfortunately, you guys have been sold a bill of goods. And before you say I'm a Russian propagandist, I'm not a Russian propagandist. I'm a Russian supporter, all right? I support Russia. They have done nothing wrong, all right? There you go. You see it. I support them. And how did I get to be a Russian supporter? 9 years of following this conflict. That's how. So, I know more than you. What I'm telling you now is not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact. You've been sold a bill of goods. What you saw in Poland is nothing new. This has been Zelensky's trademark false flag that he's been doing since the beginning. This is like his hallmark. It's a three-step process. Number one, there's like a bizarre terrorist attack or an atrocity occurs that's it's so bizarre, it's almost unbelievable, And there's no motive for it, except for Russians, just want to cause terror, right? And number two is that before there's any investigation or any evidence, or before even the Ukrainian officials get to inspect the site, Zelensky's already on camera saying, Russia did it, Russia did it, Russia did it. And number three, this is 3 parts, all right? You're going to see this over and over. Call to action. We either need you to send weapons, or we need you to trigger Article 4 and send all the NATO countries into this conflict. Poland, we're with you, man. We're with you along this way. Come join in our fight. Sanction Russia, or as you can see, you're about to see here, even worse.
Як це було до 24-го? Превентивні удари, щоб вони знали.
Okay, you're looking at the face of terrorism here. this man, you've been sold a bill of goods. It's hard to believe. It's very hard. It's not hard for me to accept because I've been following this for 10 years. You've been sold a bill of goods, and I don't mean to get political on this or anything, but this is Biden's war, and you know, I didn't vote for Donald Trump the first time or the second time, and I probably won't vote for him the third time. Well, actually, now that I know how bad Biden is, that I really don't want to vote for him. But I mean, if Tulsi Gabbard is on the ticket, then absolutely, then I will. There's no question. I mean, I'll probably sit this one out like I did the last three. But there is a political aspect to this, and that, you know, this conflict has been going on since the Obama years. I mean, we've always been using Russia as kind of like a fear thing, you know, but this plan to actually. So for if you guys don't know, let me get you up to speed. We invested $20 billion into arming neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Training them, and this is before, you know, the invasion, you know, what's called the unprovoked invasion. The special military operation is what it is. $20 billion into bulking up Ukraine's defenses. We put missiles in there aimed right at Moscow, and this is what you're seeing from Putin is a response, and it's, you know, it's not unprovoked. We provoked it. We did. Not only did we bulk up these neo-Nazis and train them, Canada trained them too. Israel even armed them. Nazis arming Nazis. Yeah. So not only did we do all that, that would be one thing if they didn't commit any terror, but unfortunately they commit terror. There's something called the Donbass War. And over 20,000 people were killed in this war, you know. So it's just and what Russia did was the special military operation was supposed to be a peacekeeping you know, efforts, peacekeeping mission, just to come in and clean out you know, fight off these Nazis that, you know, the Russian. What they call Russian-backed separatists, which it's actually the LPR and DPR. This region was not officially backed by Russia, but these are people who did support joining Russia. They really wanted to be independent, but when that was clear that we didn't want them to be independent, the United States, you know, that's kind of like they have to join Russia now because they're the only ones that are going to protect them. And so, you know, you say, oh, these are good Nazis, though they're fighting for Ukraine because, you know, Putin stole Crimea. Well, he took Crimea because we were trying to put a base on it. We wanted to cut off Russia's access to the Black Sea and take their base that's on Crimea and put our own base on it. And that was a threat to their national security, so they took that base. And I totally agree with it. And now a word from our sponsors.
Arming neo-Nazis? Black Panthers should stop arming the Ku Klux Klan.
Hold on.
Here's a headline that I bet you never thought you'd see. Rights groups demand Israel stop arming neo-Nazis in the Ukraine. What? My brain is broken. What? That's like Black Panthers should stop arming the Ku Klux Klan.
This is 2018. You're seeing this here. This is not new news. Okay.
Israel's arming neo-Nazis? They say human rights activists petitioned the court to cease Israeli arms export.
Stop it. So, this is not a new war, and once again, this Zelensky guy, he's a terrorist, and
Знову ударила ракетами. На жаль, знову є жертви, загиблі і поранені люди, спалені будинки. У Запоріжжі після першого ракетного удару сьогодні, коли люди прийшли, щоб розібрати завали, Росія завдала другий ракетний удар. Абсолютна підлість, абсолютне зло. Тисячі.
Yeah. Of course, Zelensky. Putin did it. He did everything.
Зла вже були. Тисячі ще, на жаль, можуть бути. Друге – це допомога Україні.
And so he's on TV over here now. Like I said, there's a strike on the Zaporizhzhia power plant, which we all know is not Russia. We all know this. If you don't know this, then you watch way too much American media. All right, you might think you're some kind of elitist because you watch CNN and not Fox, or maybe the other way around. You watch Fox and not CNN, so you're just better. They're both lying to you. You're only gonna find the truth out. I translate. I use online translators to read German media, and they paint a different picture. Indian media, Chinese media, just all over. But the same formula you see every time. There's the things that you get. Number one, there's some atrocity that happens. That wouldn't benefit Russia. There's no motive. You can't establish any motive. Why would Russia do that? Except for they just want to piss off the world and provoke them into, sanctioning them and rallying, the world against them. Come on, man. Number two, before any investigation, before his own team, before anyone knows anything, Zelensky is already accusing Russia. He's got his camera crew up. He's up there saying it's Russia, and then at the end of his little speech, he says we need to send weapons, or we need to sanction Russia, or we need to ban Russians, tourists from for whatever reason. I mean, I thought we were better than this. That's just racist. When we were attacked on 9/11, we didn't ban Arabs and Muslims from, I think there was talk about that, but the left came out and they were like, no, that's racist. And they rightfully so. But where are you now? Where are you now when we're banning Russian figure skaters and sports competitions and stuff like that? Like, where are you people? Like, you're morally bankrupt and I understand if you don't know what I know, if you don't know the truth. But the truth is that Zelensky is a terrorist, and for those of you who do know the truth, like, where are you? Where's your support for Russia? Why are you cowards? I live here in America, and I do this for a whole world to see. You see this? All right? The whole world can see this. And people ask me questions, and I tell them the answer. I tell them why. I tell them why I support Russia. That's why I fly this stuff, not to piss people off, so they'll come ask me questions, and I can tell them. And I will break them down every time, because I got the receipts to back it up. I don't have much time to put it into this video, but I'm just gonna I just want to let you know that this guy Zelensky is a terrorist, and this is his formula. He's look at this. Do you see how ridiculous this is? They always say Putin is saber rattling or whatever, and he's calling for nuclear strikes. Look at this.
Як це було до 24-го? Превентивні удари, щоб вони знали, що з ними буде, якщо вони застосують, а не навпаки. Чекати ядерних ударів Росії, щоб потім сказати, ах, ти так?
This man is calling for preemptive nuclear strikes on Russia. That's not how a statesman talks, okay? This is not how a statesman behaves. And no, you don't call for nuclear war like that. Oh, hey, you know what? I think Russia is going to is going to nuclear strike us, so we should strike them first with the nuclear weapons. That's insane. And at that point, the whole international community, whatever that's called, should have called for him to step down. Really, put your second in command in charge, because that's insane. That's not what a statesman does. But so you might be like wondering, like, okay, this I understand this is a tough pill to swallow, that this guy's the terrorist and that Russia didn't do anything wrong. And they didn't do anything wrong. you know, Zelensky always, you know, goes back to this this thing where here's another one.
Those liberated towns, mass burial sites, hundreds of graves. Police saying one site containing nearly 200 bodies, including children. And as Russia's losses mount, the Kremlin stepping up aerial attacks on civilians. This satellite image showing the attacks on the city of Zaporizhia, less than 50 miles from Europe's largest nuclear power plant, which also came under shelling overnight, depowering the plant. The UN's nuclear watchdog in Kyiv this week ahead of talks with
This guy's a coward.
Moscow
saying what needs to be done, which is basically avoid a nuclear accident.
Yeah, and we're gonna avoid that nuclear accident once you grow some balls and you name the terrorist. You know who it is. They shelled you while you were on your way. The Putin invited you to come to the power plant. He asked you to come to the power plant. He begged you to come to the power plant and come see him. And when you were on your way, they shelled you. But yet somebody just got you by the ball so hard that you're gonna sit here and go, well, you're just gonna beat around the bush?
It's still a very, very clear possibility.
and as nuclear...
What?
Which is still a nuclear accident.
It's still what?
At the plant, which is still a very, very clear possibility.
And it's been like 2 months since that then, or maybe a month, and he still hasn't named. We know who's behind these terrorist attacks. They have the same exact formula. They're bizarre. They have no motives. A bunch of people die. They're, you know, it's not in Russia's best interest. It's in their worst interest to piss off the international community. It's in their worst interest to drop missiles on Poland. It's in their worst interest to, you know, the stupid thing about like giving them Viagra to rape women. That is the dumbest thing in the world that I've ever heard. And it's so dumb that I'm not even going to talk about that anymore here. I'm not going to bother even providing any evidence or anything like that. If you believe that for any instance, you're an idiot. And I would bet, you know, $10,000 right now, you know, maybe I don't have that much money, but I'll bet you $5,000 right now that there isn't a single incident of a Russian troop raping anyone during this conflict. I can guarantee that. These are soldiers, they're professionals, and if you got off CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and you went and watched some real journalists, you know, it's hard to find. I don't blame you that, you know, for being, I don't blame any of you guys for supporting Ukraine. In fact, I support Ukraine too. I support those Ukrainians in the area called the Donbass who have been under shelling. I support those who are, you know, being forced onto the front lines and they weren't allowed to leave. There's reports of these of Ukrainians evacuating to Poland and actually being rounded up in Poland by the Azov battalion, the Kraken, Phoenix battalions, and whatnot. And we're in my closet now. I just wanted to show you this shirt real quick if I could find it. But we have reports of these. They're rounding them up and they're sending them back to Ukraine to go fight. So they're not evacuating anymore to Poland. These guys are running to Belarus, and as long as they have enough money, they can buy their way in to Belarus. Where am I? I got Ukrainian shirts. But anyways, I love Ukrainians. I have some shirts that say, you know, stand with Ukraine and all this stuff. But I don't stand with Zelensky. He's a terrorist, and this is going to be the toughest pill to swallow. Kiev is captured. It's under control of the nationalist battalions, the racist neo-Nazis, and they've got him by the balls. When's the last time you've seen Zelensky leave Ukraine? He's always on a video conference somewhere. When have you ever seen him then he's not surrounded by these militants with their, you know, their neo-nationalist symbols and their black suns and their, you know, their swastikas and their SS, you know, stuff. Very rarely do you see him, you know, no. They're this is not conspiracy theory, this is conspiracy fact. Our government and our media, every step along the way, has lied to you. This is a disaster. They're trying to cover it up. This is why they've banned RT, not because Russia is going to hurt your feelings. They don't want you to know the truth. And they've banned a lot of other media too, such as Iranian media. This is unprecedented, the censorship levels that we have out there right now. But there's a name for the face of terror, and it's this guy right here. And he's under control. This is the Azov battalion. This is the right sector, Kraken. I can't remember how to pronounce that. Sobovoda. This is the symbol for the Ukrainian kill list website. Of course, these are all symbols that Ukrainian troops have been caught wearing. Actually, I think that's the right sector. And yeah. Except for that one. That one's for the website of but all of these symbols Ukrainian troops have been caught wearing through this conflict. And we're supposed to think there's no Nazis in Ukraine. I'm going to make another video on that soon, but there are a ton of Nazis in Ukraine. Now, I don't want anyone to think that it's okay. I want people to be pro-Russian, because it's the right side to be on. But I don't want people to hate Ukrainians. I don't want people to, call for Russia to just go in and just carpet bomb the place. Russia's strategy, has been, I know you think it's terrorism all along the way, but it's always been to surgically kind of, they haven't carpet bombed the place. The United States would just flatten it and level it. That's what we do. That's what we did in Iraq. It's so, Putin has handled these guys with kid gloves all along the way, and they've been screaming terrorism, terrorism the whole time, while they're committing blatant acts of terrorism. These guys from the nationalist battalions, they follow the doctrine of Stepan Bandera. Well, they follow the Hitler doctrine for war, but they follow this man for inspiration in their goal to attain a Ukrainian state, and it's pretty disgusting what these guys will do for that. But now, a word from our sponsors. Yeah, this guy calling for nuclear strikes first, no, that is not okay.
Застосовує. Поки Іран щоденно розповідає, що їх нібито тут немає. Шановні пані та панове, шановні господарі нашої за 225 днів повномасштабної війни ми
All right, so this is what these nationalists believe, all right? These are the people in charge of Zelensky. They've taken Kiev. You will attain a Ukrainian state or perish fighting for it. You will not allow anyone to tarnish your people's reputation or honor. And believe me, those who tarnish their reputation or honor will get taped to a telephone pole and beaten and kicked with your pants pulled down. They'll kick you in the balls. They'll let everybody else do it. They'll encourage people to come along and beat you. And this is if you even just... Don't even talk about supporting Russia. You want to know why you don't hear very many Ukrainians saying we support Russia? Because these guys will fuck you up, okay? Remember the days of our great struggle for liberation, and you can read more about that. This is the Independence Day, the Independence War. There's videos and on Wikipedia. Be proud that you are heir to the fight for the glory of Volodymyr's Trident, and that's the Ukrainian battle coat of arms, the battle symbol, whatever. Avenge the deaths of the great kings. Do not discuss this with whomever you can, but only with whom you must. You will not hesitate to commit even the greatest crime if the good of the cause demands it. And that's what these terrorist attacks I'm trying to explain to you are about. These people are not afraid. They will kill some of their own people just to blame it on Russia. They will commit these atrocities and sacrifice these and those of the people, these nationalists, they have no problem whatsoever killing the Russian-speaking population and then putting them into a mass grave and then saying, hey, come look, Russia did it. These people are psychopaths. They believe in a radical ideology, or you can commit even the greatest crime in their mission to attain a Ukrainian state, in a mission to purge Ukraine of all minorities. They've already gotten rid of the Roma. They've burned Roma camps down. They've attacked them. They've gotten rid of Poles and Jews. What they killed 10,000 Poles, 100,000 Jews, something like that, or maybe it's the other way around. They've clearly made all of these people they're not welcome. Driven them out. They have and they've even chased out foreign exchange students. There's reports from 2008 to present day where foreign exchange students go to Ukraine and they get beaten, and then they just like, I'm out of here. I don't do this. And now they're on the last stretch, the final stretch home. They're on the home stretch. They're in the last wing of this, and which is to get rid of the Russians. So that's what they're attaining a Ukrainian state is about. So they will not hesitate to commit even the greatest crime if the good of the cause demands it. This means murdering people, guys, and throwing them in. This means bombing the nuclear power plant. This means lobbing missiles into Poland and saying Russia did it. And Zelensky knows that once they say, oh, it's a Ukrainian missile, you go, oh, well, it was an accident. I'm sorry. This guy is saying that Russia did it. And we all know Russia didn't do it now. But he's saying Russia did it before there's any investigation. And now he's saying it's an accident. None of anything that he ever says adds up. And he's not a statesman. He's practically just a mouthpiece of the Azov battalion right now. They're the top dogs in this battle. And the real conspiracy is how the United States knows this, and we're still sending these terrorist weapons. Imagine that, the United States arming terrorists. We would never do that, right? With hatred and deceit, you will receive the enemies of your nation. Yeah, and apparently that's what they consider. The Russians, but that's also what they consider to be the any minorities. A threat to your nation is basically, we'll get to it later, but minorities, gays, trans, they hate them too. Neither pleading nor threats, torture, death will force you to reveal these secrets. And number 10, you will strive to expand the strength, fame, wealth, and area of the Ukrainian state, even through enslavement of foreigners. Enslavement of foreigners. Is that, you still don't think that's insane? And so once you know what these guys from Donbass or what these nationalists have been doing in Donbass for years with impunity, if you go read some articles, go read, use an online translator and read some Chinese media, read I read a lot of Ukrainian media. I think the majority of the stuff I read is from in Ukraine, and I use this little browser extension up here in my my Firefox to translate the page. It's a free thing. It's a Google product. But this is going to be my next video is going to be to. So yes, there's Nazis in Ukraine, and there's a few of them. There's a lot of them, but they're not the majority. So don't go around hating Ukrainians and call them Nazis. But there's a lot of, but there are a lot of them who do believe in this ideology. And the people love to say there's no Nazis in Ukraine, and I guess technically they're right, because Hitler's not in power. There are no Nazis anymore. What we have now is essentially neo-Nazis, and these guys adhere to the Hitler's war doctrine. They follow Stefan Bandera, and they also quote, Nazi, quote Nazis, like Adolf Eichmann, and it's just a horrible, horrible situation that we're in, where people, don't have the guts to stand up for Russia like I do. I'm not even Russian, but I'm just, every day I walk around with this stuff. I wear my flags. I've gotten into a couple fights for it already, and well, I've gotten into one fight, but I've gotten into like two or three arguments with people. But most people are actually pretty receptive about listening and hearing, like, why I'm wearing this stuff. And but I'm not saying go out and fly a Russian flag in front of your house, but I mean, come on, don't let people bully you on Twitter and Facebook to the point where you can't just share the truth. Like, give me a break. This is pathetic. Like, there's Nazis in Ukraine and they need to go. And this was a peacekeeping operation, and the United States fucked it up. We should have just let Putin go in and do his thing and get rid of these Nazis, and we could have all just lived on like happily ever after. But no, couldn't do that. So I'm gonna leave you with a couple other things if you don't think there's Nazis in Ukraine. Ready?
З холодним серцем, але
Uh-oh.
направду триматися зараз дуже важко, особливо в такий час. І якраз уже для того, щоб нас на Росії нацистами, фашистами і так далі, я дозволю собі зацитувати слова дуже важко, особливо в такий час Ейхмана, якраз уже, який сказав, що для того, щоб знищити націю, потрібно нищити дітей, тому що вбивають їх батьків.
We got a bunch of stuff going on here.
Вбивають дітей, вони ніколи не виростуть, і нація зникне. Як Збройні сили України не можуть нищити російських дітей, тому що це заборонено правилами.
All right.
І це заборонено.
This is horrible. I got all these different audio and stuff going on, and I can't figure out where it's coming from. But there's tons of Nazis in Ukraine. Anyways, I'm out here.